global communication and business across the globe through the power of video. It makes life a lot easier. We are more connected and we want to do business. And so there's lots of different things we need to think about when we are building business, building relationships with people from around the world. And just to highlight this, you can see here, I've taken an example from Erin Meyer's Culture Map. And it's a really exciting book, really not just interesting and fascinating, but it offers a lot of amazing insights into understanding how different countries operate. And I think the most important thing is to also work out where we are and our culture on this cultural map. So Erin Meyer, she has 8 different topics or areas that she's broken down for business regarding different countries. So here is just a quick snapshot of 4 of them, but there's 8. And the real exciting thing and great thing is it can help us build relationships and not lose money. Because when we're working internationally, it's really easy to forget how the other culture works. So this is brilliant for people that want to make money and want to work internationally. I really recommend reading Erin Meyer's book, The Culture Map. All right, so just a quick overview. So you can see we have 4 different topics here. Communication. And this is just an example, all right? This is not to scale, and this is not, and this is also a generalization. This is not actually every single person in that country. So it's a generalization. Take it with a pinch of salt. So communication, all right? They like it written down, direct, the Americans. Pull your socks up means pull your socks up. But other countries, like Spain or Japan, are much more implied. You know, it's written between the lines. You've got to work out by the context of what is said and what the cultural norm is for this situation. So a lot of things are implied. Same in English. A lot of it is contextualized by the situation. Now, it is a rabbit hole in that you could go down and down and down into all sorts of details and get confused. So we'll just move on. So bear in mind, majority of communication with Americans is really direct. And as we said, the opposite in Japan. So that's just one little aspect, all right? And so what country you're in, you might figure out that you're somewhere along this spectrum, right? They're all spectrums. We're on there somewhere. Okay, disagreeing. Now, I never even thought about it, but disagreeing in India is not really done. It's very, very subtle. It's very, very, separate. It's disconnected. But you go somewhere like Spain, and there's a lot of passion and commitment and energy, all right? They're committed to their decision. And so they will often talk at the same time. And so disagreeing is okay. It's normalized. And, it's part of the process. So that's very kind of normal. All right, Spain's not all the way over here. I just couldn't, just off center. Just over here, we've got the US and like the UK, maybe the UK is a bit more over here, and Japan would also be over here. But when I lived in Cambodia, I realized that there was very, very little conflict. It was almost as if they're refusing to be in conflict. And I found that some people would actually just leave the job quietly. So it's like a passive-aggressive way of disagreeing with you. If you said, look, you must do this, the Cambodian people would just go quietly, walk away and go home. That would be the end of it. You'd never see him again. So some cultures are very, very sensitive to any kind of hostility. All right, so you need to bear this in mind. India, Japan, And then when you come to the US, and probably I could say from the UK, we would be much more passive aggressive. So we would be very, very tactful and sensitive about how we might say something. If you watch one of my other videos, you'll see about saying no or disagreeing, but in a very British and polite way. So disagreeing, again, is on a spectrum. It's very different from country to country. You need to find out where you are. Oh, pointing. Pointing is very bad in a lot of cultures. And like where I am now, in Albania, I said, so how do you indicate who you're talking about or to when they're in the room? And the polite way is a whole hand, like this. Almost like you're serving them a tray of biscuits. A whole hand. Anyway, that's something new I've learned. Scheduling. Now, we laugh a lot about this, especially some cultures that are maybe very, very hot. They tend to have a slower dynamic of getting things done. It's very rare in Cambodia that you would see somebody run because it's just too hot. People don't move fast in Cambodia. And I think it's probably the same in India. Things are done a lot slower. It's more about when it's done, it's done. Yet in maybe the USA, time is money. Come on, chop, chop, chop. Come on, get it done, get it done. And some other countries, maybe Germany, appreciate things being done efficiently and quickly more than the relationship. All right. You'll see about relationships. Some countries care more about your connection with them, like Spain, Italy, here in Albania. The connection is more important than getting anything done. So, for example, in the USA, the UK, and Germany, the efficiency of getting the job or task completed well, completed properly, is the highest priority. Relationships don't really matter. Okay, they matter a little bit because of communication and because you got to like the person a little bit. But if you're getting the job done in the US and the UK, the relationship is very fragile and maybe, you never see that person again, or you don't really care about that person. But scheduling is very, very different. The relationship is not so important for many countries. Okay, I digress slightly. Let's stay on track. Right, decision making. Now, I didn't know this, but actually in Japan, it kind of is a consensus around the low-level employees. Then it works its way up to management, and it can't be changed then by anybody below. It can only be changed by people above. And generally, you have a consensus. The higher up the management level you go to when it gets to the top. And the decision is kind of already sat in stone by this point, and is not going to change. So in Japan, the decision is made, and then it is like ratified. It is set in stone by the owner of the company at the top. And there's a lot of respect about this hierarchy. Whereas you look at other countries, there's much more of a communal consensus about decision making. In the USA, I guess it's about making the right decision. Well, also again in Japan, making the right decision properly and then ratifying it. Whereas speed is more important in some countries. For example, if you make a decision and you make it wrong, it's okay, you can change it. But you need to make a decision now. Yes or no. Decisions can be changed. But in Japan, they tend to stay the same for a long, long time. Decisions can be changed. Maybe for Spain, maybe it's somewhere in the middle. I did live in Spain for a year, but I didn't really get to know the corporate side of decision making. But I will laugh about the scheduling. That's another story. Mañana. Anyway, right. So, yes, the USA, top-down decision-making, hierarchy, again, very important, but it's the opposite way around to Japan. All right. I don't want to rattle on too much, but I do love this book. Just two more things to say. Key takeaways. Now, Erin Meyer does talk about this in her book, that knowing it's a spectrum and where you are on it. That's the first thing you need to understand. Because there's so much diversity between maybe your country and the country you want to do business with, it's really important to understand where you are on this spectrum. You might think that you're the best, but actually you might only be only halfway. Okay, so the second thing is creating a feedback loop or some kind of way of asking the same thing again and again. And this way you've got more opportunity to find out if somebody's just agreeing with you or whether somebody generally doesn't know how or is too polite in their culture to say, actually, no, we don't like this, or no, that's not the way we do it. So Erin Meyer, she says in one of her videos that she was on stage and she gave a presentation and she really thought she was on fire. It was amazing. And then afterwards, she said, any questions? Any questions? Nobody raised their hand. Now, I think this was in Japan, actually. So nobody raised their hands. She went off stage. She was very happy. She stayed behind with her friend because he went up on stage. He gave a different talk. Again, it seemed to go quite well. And then he asked if there was any questions. But what he did is that he didn't actually say, any of you have questions? He just stood there and waited. And by his waiting, he was able then to see the eyes of the people that looked like they were about to say something. And so he was able to go to them and say, oh, it appears that maybe you have a question. Is there something you'd like to ask? Is there something you'd like me to say again? And so he had a lot more interaction with the crowd, with the audience, because he wasn't direct. He didn't say, any questions? No? Okay, thanks, bye. He was able to look at the audience and see. And so Erin Meyer said that when he come off the stage, she asked him, how did you do this? How did you know? They just asked you questions, and she was confused. And he explained that he was able to pause, allow some time for them to digest and reflect. And then he was able to look into their eyes, look at their faces, and see who was making small facial and body gestures, implying they might want to get more information. And so this is the first time that she understood this, even though she'd been in that country many, many times before and traveled to lots of other countries. So this was a new thing for Erin Meyer. And it just iterates that we are very different from one country to the next. So creating a feedback loop. If you're in a video call and you're talking to somebody from a very different culture to you, you can't just say, okay, you understand, you got that? All right, thanks, bye. You need to create some kind of polite feedback loop, and it's probably good to do this at the beginning of the relationship. Is to say, okay, in my culture, we disagree by doing this, this, and this. How do you disagree in your culture? And how would be a polite way for us to understand and recognize when you're not happy with something that we deliver, for example? And so building a feedback loop at the beginning of the relationship is going to dramatically reduce frustrations and lost business. So the feedback loop. Erin Meyer, an amazing book, Erin Meyer's Culture Map. If you have any questions, just put them down in the comments and I'll see if I can get back to you. Please do read her book. It's really, really insightful and it will help you a lot. All right, that's it from me today. See you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.